evening.
Take care. We'll let you others go over. It's not Paul, All right, we'll call the December 13th meeting of the Macon County Board of Commissioners to order. Appreciate all your presence. Looks like we have a good crowd tonight, and we look forward to taking care of the business in Macon County before us, along with your presence. For all of you that are new to here, haven't been before, as you finish business, don't feel like you have to stay, please step up and quietly step out, and we'll excuse your absence. With that being said, we'll go through announcements. We have an update video, which we'll go through first. We're ready to key that off.
Hello and welcome to the County Update video for December 2016. This video is produced by the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners each month to keep county officials informed about association activities. Let's begin this month with the NCACC's continued role in Hurricane Matthew recovery efforts. The NCACC partnered with the North Carolina League of Municipalities to hold Hurricane Matthew legislative input sessions across the eastern part of the state in November. In these meetings, county and city officials shared their suggestions for what it's going to take to recover from the hurricane. North Carolina Emergency Management and FEMA had officials at each of the meetings to answer questions and to hear directly from those affected by the storm. The NCACC website has a page that links to hurricane recovery information that is available to the association for easy access by county officials. Please email communications@ncacc.org with your comments or questions. If you still have unanswered Hurricane Matthew recovery-related questions for the governor's office, please email help@ncacc.org. With each November comes an election, and all across the state we welcome first-time commissioners to the association. We encourage new commissioners to learn more about the resources and upcoming training opportunities available through the NCACC. A good place to start looking if you're interested in training as a new commissioner is the local Elected Leaders Academy, or LELA. You can visit www.ncacc.org/LELA for more information on that program. For commissioners who already participate and who would like to know about their earned credits or would like to register for more LELA events, please visit ncaccevents.org/LELA. There, our education staff has created an updated list of earned credits for easy reference as you work towards LELA recognition. For newly elected commissioners who may be seeing one of our updates for the first time, here's a little background on the association. The NCACC was founded in 1908 and is one of the most successful and active statewide local government associations in the nation. The NCACC advocates for county government before all branches of state government. All 100 North Carolina counties are members of the NCACC. The NCACC's vision and mission statements were adopted by the board during the association's strategic planning process in 2015 and capture the focus of the association. If you'd like more information about the NCACC, please visit our website, ncacc.org, or contact any of our staff. The Legislative Goals Committee met in November and decided on a package of goals to send to the NCACC Board of Directors for consideration at its December 14th meeting. The board will review and approve goals for membership's review and final approval at the Legislative Goals Conference January 12th and 13th. For more information on the process, visit ncacc.org/legislative goals. We encourage county officials to participate in steering committees, and each of the NCACC's 7 steering committees meets quarterly. Steering committees provide the greatest opportunity for individual county commissioners to get more involved within the association. Membership on the steering committees is open to all county commissioners, as well as county staff who might have a particular interest or expertise. For more on NCACC steering committees, please visit ncacc.org/steering committees. Well, that's all we have for this month. Thank you for watching and allowing us to keep you updated on your association's activities. If you'd like more information on anything we discussed here, please visit ncacc.org or contact us directly. Thanks again for joining us. We will see you next month.
Thank you. I have 2 announcements. The first involves the video we just watched. North Carolina Association of County Commissioners is going to be having a training session on January the 11th. I'm going to do my best to attend the one for new chairman. The second, January 12th and 13th is legislative goals. Is that correct, Commissioner Bill? So I think if any of you gentlemen would like to go, please let Derek know and get you signed up. The second announcement is the National Association of Counties, the NACO conference in Washington is going to be from February the 25th to March the 1st. That is, in my personal opinion, an outstanding conference. It's one that I think all commissioners should try to attend at least one time, just to see how our government works and see how important it is to visit with our federal legislatures, see how much they actually have importance for Macon County. I do have a couple brochures here. If anybody would like to see kind of the agenda and what's going on there, I'd be happy to share them. But again, that's February 25th, March 1st, and please let Derek know ASAP, because that's just a little more logistics than just booking a hotel room.
Yeah.
All right, are there any other announcements?
No, okay.
So that will rise for a moment of silence, and we'll ask Commissioner Gillespie to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 5 on our agenda is public hearings, which we have none tonight. Item number 6 is our public comment period. I, as chairman, think this is an important part of our agenda. As long as I'm in this seat, I'll be committed to allowing the citizens of Macon County the opportunity to offer their insights and suggestions on how we, as commissioners, can help more effectively and efficiently run Macon County's business. Anytime we can have that, we'll be right here. We have one gentleman on our public comment period tonight, Mr. Tim Morgan, and this subject is regarding Saunders Road right-of-way. Speed, Mr. Morgan? Yeah. Come on up and address the board. Welcome.
How are you today? I have a letter here that was done in 2013 where I addressed Ronnie Bill's attention to it with the mile per hour limit of 40 miles per hour on the Saunders Road. And as seen by this thing here, mostly it was all 70 and 75 speed limits on the 40-mile thing. Now we have several disabled people, me being one, my mom being another one, Carol Ayers. There's a lot of disabled people in the thing. And right now we have the way the traffic is going up and down the road line. They don't heed the road. They don't caution with the school bus. I'm sure somebody's got a video of the school bus passing the school bus on the wrong side and everything. I'm sure that's been shown before. And the right-of-way problem is where there is a Parkinson company up there at 470 that has taken it upon themselves to take out the drain pipes, the drainage and everything, made it flat, put grass on it. They have, well, Ronnie Bill has seen it. They have showed plants. They have plants there that my mom can't see across and everything. She has limited visibility and everything, and she has to look to see above their trees and everything, their shrubs. And the right of way should be acknowledged there. We have a post there. They are well over the right of way and everything, and littered. The county commissioners have made it so that the littering is in the county terrible. They have littered everything. The Saunders Road, the people fly up and down the road throwing out the trash. There's beer boxes and all this on the roadside. And I would like to have the commissioners put back the do not litter signs in the county. And I would also like to address them having sealed, that all the litter has to be sealed containers so the litter won't go over the roads. And if you've looked out, you've seen all this litter. And so I addressed y'all to get the litter signs back up, the $500, $250, whatever you have, and enforce it. Because you're part of the example y'all are setting. Okay? If y'all don't stop it now, then y'all will be held responsible for it later on. Because next generation down the line, they ain't going to show no remorse about it at all. And so that's mainly what I have to address and everything. I would like to see the speed limit on Saunders Road go down to 30, 35, and I would like for them to be able to enforce it. We have a deputy sheriff that lives right across the hill from me. He goes, he don't enforce it, he don't look for anything, he just flies.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I don't think it's...
You read that, though?
Yes. Everybody seen that?
I didn't get a chance to read it good. If you could, Mr. Sherman, I've been up to 10 more than once, and the state patrol's been notified, and they have set there more than once, and patrol that area, especially during the times when the speed seems to be the worst, and have wrote some citations, and continue to patrol that area. And I've explained to Ms. Morgan about the right of way. There is no right of way on Saunders Road. And as far as the signs, that's the state prerogative. And the reason that the signs are not up now hardly anywhere, it's very hard to enforce. Well, Mr. Holbrook, I'm sure any law enforcement officer. But the littering comes from, there's hay that comes from Holly Springs back to the reliever, going to the other one there on the Highland Road, the transfer station on the Highland Road. Some folks are telling one way or the other, but unfortunately that's a problem everywhere in every community. But we will certainly notify the highway patrol again and to have them patrol that area a little bit more.
I know it's not within our authority to set a speed limit for the state, but does that come from the DOT?
We can certainly, we have made that recommendation.
We have set up thing, like I said, and he wrote back that he said that he could not enforce the 40-mile speed limit. Well, Bethel Road has a 35-mile speed limit.
We made petition and they.
And the Cat Creek Road has a 35-mile speed limit too. And why does the Saunders Road has a 40-mile speed limit?
We can't answer that.
And it's not it.
it's outside of the jurisdiction of the county to set those speed limits. You have to make that request to the state, and then the state will make a decision on what speed limit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Warren. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board? Did not sign up? Item number 7, additions and changes to the agenda. Mr. Manager?
I think we're going to be moving item number 11C under new business, consideration of interlocal agreement.
Okay.
We're still reviewing that. That's all I have.
Commissioner Shields? Jessica?
I think it's made in the county manager is addressing, but 11C, it's not ready to be addressed by the board. It's not short, then it can be attached to the document we have this evening. Transportation director is working that document.
Motion to approve the next step. Sorry.
Change on the number 13.
Okay.
One up there.
336 total. Okay. Have a motion to approve. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 9, reports and presentations. We have a, Ms. Lisa Postel was asked to be time to be on our agenda to show appreciation of our local firefighters. So Ms. Postel, you'll come forward. Welcome.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here to speak to all of you tonight. Okay. During this time with wildfires, as we all know, last month it was just devastating for a lot of us. And we were very concerned for our homes and our families' lives, and also for the woodlands that we all enjoy so much. And so our family was trying to figure out something we could do to actually help in this situation. And so we made over 850 cards and gave out to the command post and to local firefighters. And my husband and I volunteered weekends at the command post. And my mother did a painting for the southeastern response team, to our local U.S. Forest Service office, and to Macon County Board of Commissioners and the people of Macon County, so that it would be, in the aftermath of all this disaster, something to look forward to know that even though things have burned and gone down, things will come back. And we were so fortunate during this time, unlike our neighbors over in Gatlinburg, who had was just detrimental. And that could have been us with the windshield. And so, also I would like to say that I'm very proud of our citizens. While we were volunteering at the command post, we were told that our people here of Macon County were so generous to them and so full of love for them. And that was just remarkable. They were very, very impressed with how we held ourselves here in the county. And so with that, I'll just go ahead and present you the paper as you all wish. My mother could not be here tonight. There was illness in the family, and so her and Dad wanted to just a little bit of answer.
Is that your children?
Oh, yes. This is, you guys want to come up? My husband, Kim. Grandchildren.
Did you do the painting?
My mother did. She was unable to attend tonight. And what it is, it's of the Phoenix Rising. And so, like I said, they're all three different, but one to each age of Yes.
Can we get the mother?
Candace Dawson, it's on the back. Yeah, we have the information on the back.
Mr. Chairman, if the board so desires, I can make sure that the payment is on the prominent location within the county facility.
Sure. There's no more reason back to that. Goes to the firefighters and support teams battling the blazes in western North Carolina. We know that through this tragedy, as the phoenix rises from the ashes, so will the beauty of the mountains. The scars upon the land will heal, and she will blossom in splendor once again. Thank you for all you do to keep everyone safe during this time. Phoenix rising is on the agenda. Thank you. Thank you. Item B, request for mid-budget cycle amendment to 2016-17 Macon County, North Carolina Forest Service Agreement. District Forester Tim Howard. Welcome.
Copy of our written request. You said Tim Allen, I'm the new district forester for District 9, which Macon County falls within, Edward County, all the way to Cherokee County. Here on behalf of the Macon County Forest Service. For those that didn't know, after 30 plus years of dedicated service to Macon County, long-serving county ranger Bobby Mashburn retired. Retired in November, so I'm here to speak on the county's behalf. And one more thing, I'd like to echo Ms. Johnson's appreciation to the board, to all the citizens in Macon County, all the local firefighters, law enforcement, emergency management folks. We also could not have done our jobs without the support of yourselves, along with the community. And to echo what she said, we had firefighters as far away as Alaska. And after talking to these folks, we're blown away and really found out what Southern hospitality was all about. The state force works. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Tim. That gets us full circle.
Along the lines of the mid-cycle increase, goes without saying, but after this historic fire season and due to some repairs that were actually bought and implemented on the local county office last fiscal year, 15-16, the current operating budget here for the State Forest Service is not at a level that will sustain our day-to-day duties between now and the end of the fiscal year. So we're requesting, I believe, County Ranger Bobby Mashburn came before y'all back in May and brought this up at that time. The board declined it at that time and said they'd like to revisit this issue here mid-cycle. The amount of the repairs to the county office, which were putting on a new roof, new windows, and new floors in the county office and on the church road. Some were about $12,000. So again, looking for support to increase our mutual budget to our ratio. And obviously the county portion will be 40% of that.
Good time to come before us too. It's quite
Yes, sir.
obvious the importance of your service.
Yes, sir. And again, along these lines, just kind of as a view, we've got one of our wildland fire engines that's suppression 100,000 miles. And just a heads up to the board that the upcoming fiscal year, 17-18, that's we're requesting a budget increase. They also request purchasing for the wildland fire engine.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Just going back in conversations with Mr. Mashburn, and I don't know, maybe before, maybe still in here where I missed it. I was under the impression that we were going to see that there was some state money out there that was going to come through with the state budget in terms of the truck, to purchase the truck. And so we were going to wait mid-year to see if the state funds to purchase a truck came through. And at that time, we were going to match 40% of that, which would be our obligation. And in Mr. Mashburn's letter here, in the original budget request, he notes that, it says here, you will notice that the proposal includes $40,000 for the replacement of one county initial attack vehicle. The overall cost for the county for this purchase will be $16,000. So I was under the impression that the mid-year cycle adjustment was going to be to see if the state money came through for the truck, to see how the funding from the state panned out, and then at that point, the county, mid-year, we would revisit whether we were going to come with another $16,000 to purchase that one-time capital expenditure of the truck. In terms of the operating budget, this requested amount this year, I think was around $92,000, maybe, as far as the county's portion goes. We budgeted $70,000, and that is what we budgeted for the past 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, roughly thereabouts. And for those 6 years, this $70,000 goes for the operating expenses, and for those 6 years, the Forest Service does an excellent job here again of managing their operating expenditures day to day. The reason we left that amount flat at 70 was because fiscal year 14, they ended up spending around $65,000 of that 70. Fiscal year 15, again around $65,000 of that $70,000, and then in fiscal year 16, $61,000 of that $70,000. So they never quite met that $70,000 threshold in operating expenditures, and I was under the impression that the operating monies were sufficient that we would be revisiting it mid-cycle the purchase of the truck, and the $16,000 that Mr. Mashburn alluded to in his original budget request for March 21st, 2016. So I guess, are we looking at buying the truck this year?
This coming fiscal year, be 17-18. Is my understanding.
Okay.
So that's all we're taking, so the truck this year,
Yeah, it sounds like it. Now,
I
this is my last
believe-
understanding.
I believe so. So for the information I've been getting from my supervisor, it is all protected this year. And we'll be revisiting to try to get that back on the table for the 17-18 budget.
So the 12,000 is basically for improvements
Yes, sir. That
to
is
the
correct.
building. Well, let me just roll what Derek said, and that is just kudos to Mr. Mashburn, Mr. Kenny right there for coming in under budget. I would like to hit it. We shouldn't necessarily be penalized for coming in under budget. I appreciate that. That's good. More thoughts or actions?
The state help you out any on the vehicle or anything. Come through with any help this year.
Not this year, no, sir. It did not. It's my understanding that there was no help for the 16-17 budget.
so we're just going to put that one on hold. What the only thing you're asking for is if we help out with the general repair of the building.
Yes, sir.
The most needed repair.
Yes, sir.
But you're asking for 30% from the county, right?
Increase the entire budget by $12,000, and then 40% would be, yes, ma'am, that is correct.
$4,800.
That's how you're asking for.
That would
Yes,
be
sir.
the county's 40 million, this is 60/40 share.
I make the motion to approve the appropriation of $4,800 of the appropriation of $12,000 requested for general repairs for the office building located off Iowa Church Road, and that may be taken out of contingency.
We have a motion on the floor. Second. Second, Commissioner Shields. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and so those are for those one-time repairs to the building?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any further? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We have to reflect the decision.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all. Have a good evening.
Item C, Commissioner Higgins has requested Board of Elections Director Debbie George to give us an update on the...
None of the schools had broadband. In fact, there was no broadband in the county. So, I accepted a job as the Executive Director of Foothills Connect, an economic development program funded by the state primarily, actually through the Rural Center. And what you're looking at is the actual plan I put together for distribution of fiber optics to every school and every volunteer fire department in a 550 square mile county. The idea being that we would be able to launch radios, wireless broadband from those locations, creating 32 hotspots throughout the county. Fast forward another 10 years, and I'm in your county. Left Foothills Connect after having won a national award and $100,000 for putting that system together. I was, as a member of what's called the Catawba Partners out of Asheville, we were invited to work with a local nonprofit called Mainspring, what's called Little Tennessee Land Trust of Little Tennessee. And you're looking at the map that we are implementing as we speak of a number of landscapes along Route 28 in the Little Tennessee River Valley that the Mountain Partners, as they're called, a group of representing the Cherokee and of the surrounding municipalities, decided would be smartphone enabled. So I was asked to go in and come up with a plan about how we were going to do that. And as most of you know, if you've been down Route 28, there's not much broadband there, and there's several dead zones. It was in that regard that I ran into a lady here I'll sit next to, Linda Lamp, who represents 65 communities of the WNC communities, a 60-plus-year-old organization that represents the rural communities. That chance meeting ended up being a 4-hour conversation as she picked my brain as far as rural broadband and how to do it. And she introduced me to some of her members that are here in Macon County. Uppermost would be the Upper Cartougaget community. And I started meeting with them under the idea that it's the communities that are going to organize and affect connectivity back to the infrastructure that's a bit more stationary and usually run by providers. I was in conjunction with a conversation with Phil Drake at Drake Software. We were told that if we were to come up with 60 people that would buy the internet service, that he'd be willing to work with us in terms of getting a signal out there. And we did that. To their credit, making the call of the leader for Upper Cartougaget was able to deliver to them 60 names. And on top of that, because it's in a basin with a prominence that is visible to most of the people in that basin up on Lane Knob, that we were able to see that if we put an antenna there, that most of the people would be able to receive a internet signal wirelessly, because Blaine Knob is also visible to Cowee Bald, from which there are a number of antennas and backhaul. And in talking to several, actually a couple of groups, the Forest Service and with Mr. Cabe of Emergency Management, we were told that we could, if we were worked through a nonprofit, we could use their facilities. So, I'm here to talk about broadband and how I know that there's a lot of folks that don't have any connectivity here. It is without question as, and I say to you, as my county, Rutherford County, has just today been elevated from a Tier 1 county to a Tier 2 county. That the economic development opportunities are unbelievable once you get broadband. Home-based businesses, telemedicine. Obamacare pays for telemedicine. I've heard while I've been here in this county that you have 34% of your population is over 65. Telemedicine is something that they can all use if they're connected. Educational, and talking with Mr. Shields, he can validate the idea. If you're a classroom teacher, you can tell the kids who are connected and who are the kids that are disconnected. It's easy because the connected kids know stuff, right? That these other kids have never seen before because they have, if they care to not watch movies, they will have access to the entire curriculum of MIT and Harvard. They're not going to get credit for it, but they're going to get the knowledge. They're going to have the entire library of MIT, of University of Michigan, and on and on and on. And the information is without a doubt worldwide, if you're connected. So you'd say, well, how's this happen? Well, it's, again, you got to find the communities, you got to find leadership within the communities, and then you work backwards. The infrastructure is known. We know where most of the fiber is. We know where the infrastructure is. So in Rutherford County, what we did is we found a tower that was 18 miles away on Tryon Peak in Polk County. And we could see from this water tower that peak. And so that's my first antenna. And I went to the Appalachia Regional Commission, and I argued with their expert for a long time that tower could transmit radio signals to communities that could see it. And they gave me $100,000 to do just that. And now that system has over 500 customers on it, whereas they had nothing before. So I'm here to say that WCNC community has organized these communities here in your county already, and with your acquiescence, permission, support, we would like to find a way to connect each and every one. And that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Just stand up there, madam. This is Linda Lamb, the Executive Director of WCNC. I have my partner, Dr. Tom Hatley.
Carried the briefcase. You and I have talked a number of times, met a number of times, and I think our region is moving into the broadband. There's research and ways to do it. And what we've discussed before, we don't want Macon County left behind. And so we're trying to devise something so the people of Macon County can have access to the broadband. And that's our objective, trying to find a strategy to go with it. And I think what I'd like to ask from the board is that our county manager, Mr. Rowland, and I be given permission from you to continue this research into a steering committee. And then bring that steering committee up within people of Macon County. We're looking at health services, you're looking at finance, you're looking at the banking industry, you're looking at EDC, Tommy, I see you back there. A number of players here, and we want to bring some people together to talk about what we're going to need to expand broadband. What do they need? What do banks need? You mentioned there a while ago regarding to your medical.
Elements.
Right. And we want to hear what people say from the hospital, and we want to put together a steering committee that will go out here and seek information, see what we really need here in Macon County, and come back to the board probably in February or March and give you an update on where we are. Because the footprint that Cartoon J is presenting, that same footprint to some degree could be Otto. It could be over Holly Springs, Carl. And, but these are what we're moving toward. But we want to go back in and look at some of the people who are the technical parts. We want to look at the finance sector. We want to look at the medical part, emergency services. We want to see who all these players are and what we have to do to bring all the people in, especially these service area people. And that's Ms. Roll and I, we've talked about it, and we kind of need your permission to move on forward with this idea to try to get a handle on our needs, not just people needs, but you got health department, those things like that, to make sure that we are covering all our bases. And through Crystal Will's help, Tom and Ms. Lamb, they know how to do it. We just got to do the legwork, and you give us permission to take it on, and we'll go with it.
Again, Jim, to do this study that he feels that you're going to do enough from this board, but we're all, we know that it's going to be. There's going to come a time, and you're going to feel the financial part, even in the study to get the, when will that come into play, and when will that be discussed?
Well, this study was financed by Southwest Regional Commission, opt-in money through ARC. They're a pass-through. So there's grants available for it. My original plan, I raised $1.5 million to put fiber optics from Gold Leaf Foundation. So the money is there. But what I would suggest is that down the road it will become a public-private partnership that with the community in control of the distribution, let's say the water tower, but the community control it, so that in the future they don't get obsoleted by being able to contract on either end, on the fiber optic end or the what's called the last mile, that actually the customer gets. They can contract with it and buy it as a service. To your point, that there is money out there in grants to be able to do it. The other participation that the county may well be asked to provide is that there are public assets that you are in control of. Right-of-ways. There's towers, much as Mr. Cave had suggested. There are, in some communities, they actually own the street, the poles that the red lights are on. These are assets that can be dedicated to the community broadband to be used that will cut down on the price of the installation. So every case is going to be different. I've never seen any of them where they're the same. But the county is going to be needed to participate. First, the easiest thing for you is the assets. Let the community lease the asset from you. The second thing is that it's in the county's self-interest to support it financially if it's needed. And so, with your permission, we'll get started on looking for money from granting. What's that?
Southwest Commission, I believe. I believe I heard the sheriff say that there's money left.
and WMC Communities has a very deep relationship with the Southwest Regional Planning Commission. So it's not going to be free. It's never free. And that's why you don't have it. All right? But it should be considered a public utility. To me, having seen in my own county, us go from 99 out of 100 in poverty when I got there to, I guess we're at least 64th out of 100 now, or 67. That would be less than 7 years. I've seen it. I've seen the results in terms of the number of kids that are going to college. Right now, in the state of North Carolina, you have more kids taking classes online than you do, as we say, meat in the seat. Right? Telemedicine is going to be huge. You've seen people wearing those Fitbits. They're communicating through the internet to laptops or to desktops. It's only a matter of time that the next one is probably going to be for diagnostics of type 2 diabetes. Now think about that. All the people that have to come into the doctors every month, have their blood pressure checked and their blood count, their sugar measured, when it can be put into a machine and sent over the internet for analysis, and Obamacare will pay for it. They're right now paying $65 per consultation, 20-minute consultation with an aide, not a doctor, not a nurse, with an aide to ask them a series of questions on a monthly basis.
As long as that baby don't figure out how to weigh you, you'll be all right.
Yeah. And it will. So, I don't want to take up your time, but you're following right now the state standard. Given the state broadband report requested by the House of Representatives, it is now 25 megabits per second down. The prior state standard was 4. All right, so it was 6-7% increase in just a matter of years, and that's not going to stop given the technology of the chipsets that are being developed. Your technologist is called Moore's Law. You're going to be at 100 megabits per second standard before too long. It's very difficult when we go to Washington, D.C., where they're advertising in the taxi cabs for 320 megabits per second, that you work in an area that has no broadband, or in many cases, like much of this county, is less than 3 megabits per second.
I think we realize I have a principal's mentality. We talked about that too. I may not can teach calculus or teach French. My job as a principal is to find somebody who can. And I feel like my role here is we've got a problem. Now let's find people, let's put together a team here, and let's put it together and put a best foot forward. With y'all permission, allow Mr. Earl and I to pursue this. We'll stay in contact with Ken, and we'll inform you, we'll stay in the meeting, and we'll report back to you.
I agree with you, Commissioner Shields. In fact, on my items, not item D, is under new business, under discussion of liaison committee appointments. That was one of the new boards I'm going to be suggesting. But I'm good with it. And wants to comment.
Just a couple brief comments. I think I don't think any of us in this room will deny that there is a substantial need for broadband as well as extended cell service in Macon County. And I appreciate the model that's from the community up. I think one thing we need to be very careful of is that we don't lose the vision that Macon County needs to be covered with broadband. Naturally, I will hold things to be first. But I think as county commissioners, the college thing might not get to be first. I think we need to look at it as a whole. And I think the county manager, with the assistance of the mapping department, Mr. Hall has already started developing these maps that based on feedback from carriers. We certainly realize that we need to qualify that data, and I think they're working on that. So from that, we're going to have a set of drawings developed that will give us an indication of what we have relative to broadband. So I think this is it's a great idea for the group to look at it, but I think that we need to work very closely and make sure that Macon County as a whole is looked at, and the deployment approach would be
And Mr. Will met at the hall today. They communicated on some of their needs. They know each other now. They're both working as a team on what you need to do.
And I do think it's good what you were saying, that before we can say what was it, before this committee's obviously going to have to establish a goal. We have to have goals of what we want to accomplish. Before we're able to set those goals, we're going to need to know where we're at right now. So until we know where we're at right now, we're not going to be able to say clearly where we need to go, where it's our goal to go. So I think the first step of that committee will be finishing out this inventory and getting a good idea, qualifying that data, which is going to be, from right now, it's going to be, it's a tall task. It's going to involve almost, the providers giving us a service address list, which we've requested from them and still haven't heard back from that. But, when you have maps that are out there that we're taking on the census block level, where when one person's reporting broadband, the whole census block is covered in, and then you zoom out, there's a lot of room for error in there. And so there's a lot of whittling down and narrowing down that we need to do, that it's going to take going from the community first, because it's going to take each of these communities in Macon County to tell us where it is and where it isn't, based on where we're at right now. So that will be valuable moving forward, but I think that committee, beginning at that point, that's kind of going to be how we're going to have to proceed, just like you were saying. And then in keeping the whole county in perspective, and I was going to ask you, do you see this as, I've noticed here the volunteer fire departments. It looks to me like we have volunteer fire departments in some very rural locations, in substations, in very rural locations in Macon County. It looks to me like when you start talking about those fire stations, you're talking about public safety and getting broadband to those fire stations. There should be some money out there for that especially. And if you can get it to the fire stations, you're getting that toehold in that community. And so maybe that is the first step, looking at something like all the fire departments and substations spread out in the county, and going from there and getting a toehold in the community using that public safety for an opportunity for funding. So very excited about this, and
I think that I would recommend that the planning board be brought back and if they involved in this. They worked on this coming in, and they established some recommendations for this board on speed, et cetera. So I think there's some work, groundwork that's been done there that might be as valuable as possible.
And I hear what you're saying. I respect what you're saying. I think when you move from the planning board back to the commission, it was too big for the planning board. I think the planning board may have some information that would be an asset to us. But for them to go back and take it over, I'm not sure that they won't be a player.
I'm not inclined to say should take it over, but I am inclined that there's a planning board, and planning is your job, and they should be involved in this long-range plan.
I think maybe you had a liaison from the planning board to to serve on the committee.
Maybe the chair of the planning.
That can relay on that committee. That can relay.
I think the planning board absolutely needs to be plugged in.
Well, is everyone in consensus of Commissioner Shields and County Manager move forward with the committee? You get a little Paul?
Yeah.
Tim, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
3 years ago, we started on this.
Gary, thank you for your interest in this.
Thank you.
The next item, moving on to whole business, item 10A, update on the agreement with East Coast Cruise Management. Mr. County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing has changed with the substance of the agreement, other than some of the terms. Lori had pointed out at our last meeting, she had asked about the $3,000 a month in relation to travel, and what that covered in the way of travel. It turns out, when we negotiated this contract, the representative that we were negotiating the contract with is no longer with the company. This contract does include travel, but it is at $3,150 a month rather than $3,000. So all this is doing, this agreement has been changed. The section in particular that we're talking about that has been included in your agenda package is section 2.0. The monthly cost goes from $3,000 to $3,150. That $3,150 includes one on-site visit per month, 12 a year. Anything over and above that one per month, 12 per year, will be reduced, or will be paid for using the IRS mileage reimbursement rate of 54 cents per mile. It's down this year, it's down from 57.5 last year. So that is the only change to this contract. Again, as we were originally negotiated, we were all under the impression that this was included in the $3,000. It turns out that that was not the correct information we were given by the sales representative, who is no longer with the company. So that is merely illustrating that correction to the contract.
Mr. Chairman, I had the opportunity to speak with the president of the East Coast Cruise Management, Mike Newport. He indicated to me that the one trip per month, which is contemplated by this agreement, covered by the monthly experience, is in all likelihood going to be more than that to take care of that. They will be coming not from Pennsylvania, but instead from their Charlotte office. So there's less time.
I think so. I think we're ready for
A motion to approve the revised contract and authorize me as county manager to enter into
That
that.
was distributed to you this evening. You have the year to your contract.
Yes. Yes. Essentially, it's a trial.
Motion to approve.
No, motion, Commissioner, second, Commissioner Shields, discussion.
The only thing is a phone, we need to make sure that what we do is get the absolute notice of that one day for night. So when they're here, we will have them booked from beginning to end, and we will try to leverage everything we can.
And let me say, again, to kind of piggyback on what Mike just said, Mike Cooper indicated that they have the opportunity to be out this way. Anyway, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to be out this way anyway. They're going to probably call on us and say, do you need anything while we're out this way?
And it will in terms of the agreement, the 1 year, it is going to be incorporated into Mike's job duties to measure the performance, see what we're getting, kind of right here over this group, and so he will be able to report back to us exactly the values that we are getting each of this.
You anticipate this taking a little load off your wages?
We'll take some off, it'll put some on, it'll balance out.
So we'll see what happens per year.
We'll add some, yes, sir.
After reading through it, my personal feelings are Sunday's going to be a lot. it'll probably help us in the long run, so getting better compliance.
We talked about those attorneys, but we,
In one case.
The attorney that they have working with him, I've already found is somebody that speaks our language and has a good relationship.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous decisions. Item 10B, update on the SCC burn bill.
Thank you, Mr.
County
Chairman.
manager.
One, glad to have you here with us tonight. Curtis, glad to have you, Dr. Thomas, glad to have you with us tonight. As we move through this process with the burn building in Southwestern Community College, I think we acknowledged at the last board meeting that the next step would be to have a survey of the county-owned property that we were going to be using as part of the match funding for the SCC burn building complex project. As you can see here, we do have a preliminary copy that has been provided to us. The tract, turns out, will be 9.5 acres. And if you can remember on this survey right here, you see the Little Tennessee River down to the south. The 4-lane, as you will remember, on the north of the property, it showed our property going up to that 4-lane and then across, or up to Silo Road and then across Silo Road, not 4-lane. So as it turns out, the mapping that we had used to offer our mapping website, it was a little dated. Turns out that property is separated by that, as you can see there, the Vanderwood tract before it gets to Silo Road, and then on the other side of Silo Road, turns out that property had actually been deeded to the state, so it wasn't owned by the county. On the north side of Silo Road, if you can recall that map that I showed you that night. So what we have here is the 9.5 acres, and essentially it's that chunk right there that we said, if they put a 2.5, 3-acre facility in the middle of that property, then it will render the rest of the property useless to the point where we could piece out just that 2.5 to 3 acres to be able to use it. So we do have this survey. It is currently in preliminary phase. Chester's finalizing some things, looking over some things to do with the greenway that goes through there, and any stipulations that might be attached to the greenway itself in terms of setbacks, right-of-ways for this property. But we're expecting to finalize that pretty soon. Dr. Thomas and I met and discussed the next step as called for, and we discussed at the last meeting, is to get an appraisal, both for the county to get an appraisal and SEC to get an appraisal of this piece of property. So once this becomes finalized, once this survey becomes finalized, at that point, I'll provide Southwestern Community College with a survey, and they will seek an appraisal on this 9.5 acres, as we will seek an appraisal on this 9.5 acres. The appraisal must be performed by North Carolina Certified General Surveyor, or appraiser, excuse me. So at that point, we will get our appraisal, they will get their appraisal. Then we will look at the appraisals. If the appraisals are not polar opposites, if they're pretty close together, at that point, the state will allow us to take an average of those two appraisals to determine the value of the property. At the point we determine the value of the property, we will then begin discussing the match requirements. So that's where we're at right now. Dr. Thomas, do you have anything you would like to add? Warren, if you have anything that I left out you'd like to add, Curtis, please feel free. But right now, what we would be doing, we can find the money to pay for the appraisal in the budget. If the board can set a not to exceed amount for the appraisal, every appraisal that we've had thus far has never exceeded $5,000. And that's on the landfill properties. And it's sketched me right now, but that is pretty much the Parker Meadows. Yes, those are not exceeded $5,000, so I think that is plenty if the board can set a, just authorize me to go within the operating budget, funds that have been approved, and get that appraisal taken care of. We can do it.
We've got to have an appraisal, that's the next step. Make a motion to approve the manager's request.
Have a motion and a second, any further discussion?
So just to make clear, that's to pay for the county's part of it.
The county's
Not
part.
SCC's.
It's Brandon Derrick up to $5,000. See, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The record reflects unanimous decision. Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 10C, updating the Carpenter Community Facilities Building Regulations. Mr. County Manager, again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You will notice a revised version of Mr. Ritter's contract has been distributed to you tonight. Essentially, as we had discussed, there is a provision in the state law that allows the county to act as its own general contractor when performing a construction project. We're going to take an opportunity with the renovations of the Robert C. Carpenter building to utilize that exemption. It will require us to fill out an affidavit, and basically what it says is that as county manager, if I am signing on behalf of Macon County, I have to be present when the inspections are performed on the work as it is completed. Mr. Ritter's contract in doing this, and the county acting as its own general contractor, Mr. Ritter has taken on some additional duties as part of his contract. Simply, and looking at it, we're not working with one general contractor now. Originally, Mr. Ritter's contract was geared towards, hey, we're going to put this project out to bid, it's going to be under one general contractor. So Mr. Ritter's formulation of the bids and interaction with contractors has been limited to one. But as we are doing this project and acting as the general contractor, Mr. Ritter will now expand to include preparing bid documents and interacting with numerous contractors during the course of this project, including, as you can see here on page 7 of the Carpenter renovation, or the Carpenter Community Building Renovation Project, the windows and doors, the plumbing, electrical, gymnasium flooring, landscaping, and miscellaneous general construction. So Mr. Ritter's, as you can see, his workload has increased, therefore his price has increased in the contract. The contract has been revised to reflect these new duties of working and preparing bid documents for numerous contractors rather than one. And with that increase in workload, that has resulted in an increase in his contract price from $20,000, which was his original amount, to $23,700, which is the amount of the revised contract. And we're shaking our head, was it not $20,000? What was the original?
The board had approved up to 17.
The board had approved up to 17.
So we
Okay.
need
So
the difference.
$6,700 rather than $3,000.
Chairman, I remind you that you passed a resolution basically exempting these particular services from the request for proposal statute, given that the project was less than $50,000. And I would just say the important to note that and know that we remain under $50,000.
Comments? Motion?
What's the estimated cost of all these improvements?
We had spoken before that, and before we take these and get individual prices back on all these, we don't want to throw a number out there just because we want to go out there and without having a predisposed number for any of the.
That's the reason I know it's going to cost more. To me, that's a reasonable fee for architectural services.
Yes, and like I said, the workload has substantially increased. One more thing I'd like to add: we had distributed these. The board has seen numerous times. We did have a comment. The carpet squares, the carpet squares have been removed from the high traffic areas, hallway. The only places there will be carpet squares is in office spaces. Another thing which we'll begin discussing probably as we get these bids back and move forward with the project is we feel that Seth has been doing a good job of communicating with the groups and the community organizations that use the community building, the Robert C. Carpenter building during the winter months, in order to expedite this these contracts and get this project completed. We are considering closing the community build, the Robert C. Carpenter building altogether for 4 months, 3-4 months during the winter after the basketball season is over, to get in there, get it done, and get out, rather than having to work around, close portions off, and incurring that liability of somebody getting hurt in that construction site always. So, yeah, so we are, just to make the board aware of that right now, that's what we're looking at, but our rec department's doing an excellent job communicating with the groups and individuals that use that building during the winter months.
Or if you didn't object. You just have
No,
to be made.
I just want to agree. At some point, I'd like for this board or future boards, we mentioned that building does not meet the needs of the community as it did in the 70s. It was built, great idea in the 70s. We're 4 years down the road. Winter basketball, of course, just doesn't satisfy the basketball league. I'd like to see the board of elections out there, but in a new building. But let's keep it in mind. Hopefully this year, maybe around budget session, we can discuss some other opportunity or avenues. But I'll make a motion to what effect, Mr. Chairman?
I'm going to approve the Ritters new contract.
And the budget.
The notes mentioned our attorney.
Make a motion to cover all those points.
A motion and a second, any further discussion? Go ahead.
6,700 on convenience. That's what I read.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The record reflects unanimous decision. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter.
New business. Item 11A, Tax Department, Tax Administrator Richard Wagner. Item number 1, settlement on the Watauga business sale.
Okay, the first item you have, and I think you had in your agenda pack, there was a copy of a letter from Jeff Goss, or attorney that does the foreclosures, that the board allowed us to obtain about a year or so ago. And we had Watauga Vista up on the mountain that we talked about was a defunct corporation, never paid taxes in my 32 years. So we had to do a lot of legal stuff to put that out there to sell. We had like 22 lots, and we sold every one except these 7. 2 of them, we had consignment bids, I think 2 months ago, that will be recorded after the initial date. So we cleaned up the books. There's lots are now in private hands. The bad part is we end up with 7. And when you go out there and bid these lots for the lien, being a tax lien, when you go to the courthouse steps, if nobody bids on it, then the county becomes the low bidder. And the low bid consists of the taxes due and all the legal fees and all the fees for recording, all the clerk court stuff and all that. So these 7 lots amount to roughly $9,456 of change. So the county has to pay Jeff Goss, that goes into his escrow account. His money separate from his business goes into the escrow account. Jeff Goss then turns around, records the deeds to the county. He cuts the check less the recording fees back to the county to cover the taxes and the expenses that we've already incurred. The problem we have is we haven't done this ever. So this $9,400 and some got to come out of the account somewhere. And we talked, Chester and us all met 2 or 3 times, Lori and Derek, and I assume we are still talking about contingency. It coming out of that fund because we have to take possession of the property. We then have that property, and you can surplus it do whatever you want to with it, but it's up in Watauga Vista, so it's gonna be hard to find anything anybody sell. Jeff has already contacted all the people there. We did get rid of, like I said, out of 22, all except these 7, so we'll still have to absorb it. But we still have the right to sell them or negotiate with the landowner to buy, a lot next to them whenever it comes up. And at that time, the board will receive a bid, and that they can accept it or reject it or do whatever they want to with it.
So, to straighten my mind, these properties didn't pay their taxes, so we basically,
We're taking them for the taxes, put it out a week.
everybody bid on the properties, so we're having to pay the law firm the taxes on it, which will then buy the properties, and then they turn around and give the money back to us. That's the reporting fees, but we're gonna own, county's gonna own 7 properties, which I presume we would then put back on the market.
Surplus.
Surplus it in accordance with the procedures for 168.
And what's the total amount?
The total amount of what we owe for this purchase of these properties, $9,476.27.
Essentially, accounting matter, Ross as the commissioner who is named by the court to conduct the sale, is required to show that he received the money for the high bid, but he turned around and basically gives it back to the county because they were high.
And the breakdown of that money, there'll be $182 recording fee, $26 a lot, plus there's $3,539.10. That is actual taxes due. So that remainder of $5,754 goes back into that fund balance of our attorney fees that we do the next set. It's a, that's a self-textual thing that we set up.
Makes perfectly good attorney sense to me.
So the bottom line is, we need a budget amendment for
Need a budget amendment.
$9,477 out of contingency.
We have a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. You understand it? So moved.
We have a motion, Commissioner Miller, a second. Commissioner Gillespie, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed? The record reflect unanimous decision. Thank you. Item B.
Okay, the next one is new to the entire board, I'm sure. One's still here, and West is back there, in Bradley. Okay, the county has pictometry. I don't know if you know, you've seen all of our maps that you see, the pretty stuff and all that. Pictometry brings the buildings up into 3D figuration, and you'll see in a minute what it does. We've last done that in 2010, which is 6 years now, it'll be 7 years, when Josh Pope was here. Josh Pope left the county, and at that time when we did it, 911 monies paid for the project, $170,000 at the time. The state allowed them to do that. So we were, when one of us met, we were under the impression that we could possibly use 911 monies again. That's no longer the case, because the state does apply orthos, but at a higher level and only one dimensional. Compounding this is the state also, and in the letter that you received from me, in the reassessment part of it, the state's really going to start cracking down from the Department of Revenue on how the counties do their work. If we all remember the Mecklenburg fiasco that they had 2 years ago, well, to alleviate that problem of the legislators going into session and making all kind of laws, the Machinery Act gives the Department of Revenue total authority over the revaluations. That's setting up the funds, setting up personnel and all that. They're going to require the counties starting next year to turn in your plans for revaluation, check your personnel if they're certified and all that. And we're supposed to have a revaluation fund. We did away with that a few years ago but that's probably gonna come back to play during budget time again. So setting up the personnel, they adopting the International Association of Assessing Officers guidelines. Based on those guidelines, we're supposed to have one appraiser for every 8 to 10,000 parcels. So that means we need minimum 4.5 appraisers. I have 3. So if you're looking at purchasing an appraiser for the workload compared to what this will do, and we can get by with using this tool as part of the appraisal system, then we don't have to hire personnel. If I hire personnel, I use that personnel and the work just stays with that one project. The pictometry, even when I take possession of it, then all the emergency people gather that tool too. The 911 dispatch, the law enforcement, the fire enforcement, they can pull up all those pictures. One's group is probably the most active in using that technology with all the emergency people. And it does a lot of other things. Bradley Robinson with pictometry is going to give you about a 5 to 10 minute overview of the project through the monitors here, and it will fully demonstrate the difference, because it's abstract in your mind right now. This will show, and then we'll discuss a little bit further. Right.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Mr. Manager, thanks for having me tonight. As Richard mentioned, my name is Bradley Robertson. I'm the District Manager for pictometry in North Carolina and South Carolina. I'm going to try to make a little sense out of what Richard was saying about what we do and what we plan to do for the county. Pictometry is a company that's located up in Rochester, New York. I'm based locally in South Carolina, and probably the 2 states I mentioned before. One of the largest aerial imaging firms. We are the largest digital aerial imaging firm in the world. We work with 1,343 counties in the U.S., which represents about 43%. Widespread integrations, and these are key because we work with companies like Keystone that Mr. Leitner works with all the time, and the Macon County CAD system, which is interactive. So what that means is you can use our imagery and software to integrate with these systems that they already have in place, so they don't disrupt any workflows. Currently we have 26 patents pending our camera system, technology, image capture process, and image measurement. Basically, before we came along, if you purchased aerial imagery, it was from a top-down ortho perspective. What we did was design a way to capture imagery at an angle to give you more of a natural perspective, a type of scale, or 3D, as we mentioned before. We geo-reference every pixel that we take to take accurate measurements. It's very useful for many departments within the county. It says here that we have 115 U.S.-based aircraft that will be flying early next year. Flight window is typically leaf-off conditions, so it's mid-December to probably early March in most situations. Resolutions are 3 and 9 inch. That's basically, if you can picture a 3-inch pixel on the ground from an airplane and a 9-inch. We typically do the 3-inch in the more populated areas, 9-inch in the more rural areas. We also have a disaster coverage in our contracts. In this particular area, I would say if you had an EF4 or greater tornado, we would come back immediately, and when I say immediately, within a matter of days, and fly the affected area up to 200 square miles at no cost, and process that imagery for you in a very rapid manner. It's called rapid access, so that county departments could use it for whatever they need. This is a fairly current map of our customers in North Carolina, with the exception of Lenore, Franklin, Lee, Surrey County, who are coming on board to fly in this next flight season, starting in January. This will kind of illustrate what we're talking about. When I say ortho or orthogonal top down, this is the image of what you'd be getting. It's really hard to tell what this is, but if you look at it from a 45-degree angle, you can tell it's a blind glass. Same thing for other types of technology that use oblique imagery to help further the visual intelligence that you can get from something. This is a traditional oblique image, very sharp and crisp, still very important for mapping purposes and things like that, but there's only so much you can get out of it. If we were looking at it before, it'd be hard to tell what that is on the ground. But a 40 to 45-degree angle will let us know it's a church. Plus it's geo-referenced, so we have all the information. Any GIS layer that Wes has available to him can be uploaded into the software so that you can visualize it on here. So what we do is provide you with the standard ortho that you're used to getting here in the center. But we also give you, for each pixel, we're going to give you a cardinal direction, north, south, east, and west, 45-degree angle, so that you can get a lot more information from the imagery. Here's an example of residential 3-inch imagery. This is the ortho perspective. If you look at it from north, south, east, and west, from a visual standpoint, you can get a lot more information and a lot more detail about this parcel. From a 911 perspective or law enforcement, if I'm serving a high-risk warrant, I can visualize all this information during the daytime and have accurate measurements taken on it and really pre-plan what I want to get in, what I'm getting into if I'm going to make a visit to a particular parcel. Furthermore, it reduces the amount of time needed or spent out in the field and reduces the cost on county assets, things of that nature, to travel out to visit a parcel when you can pull it up on the desktop. This is another example of 3-inch imagery out of the rural areas. This is 9-inch, still very clear, still the oblique angle. One of the components of our software is a product called Change Finder. What this helps us do is compare imagery from the past, which I think he said 2010, to new imagery that we would capture in 2017 or beyond. And what it does is we take the new imagery and we create footprints or building outlines for every structure in the county that's 150 square feet or greater, and we create a polygon of that. We serve that up to you as a shapefile, so that can be used for any department within the county. And then compare it to the old imagery and see what's changed. And that includes demolitions, it includes additions, and we use the oblique imagery for that as well. And this would really help Richard in his rebound situation, because what this will do, what we find is customers that fly with us, every 2 to 3 years, especially a 3-year window, are going to find about 17 to 20% change. So this gives him a really targeted approach to revaluation, so he can not spend so much time on the 80% of things that have not changed, and really focus on the 20% of things that have changed. How we do it, this is just a little visualization of our PentaView camera system, which we design and build ourselves. We don't have an off-the-shelf camera, so we actually manufacture these ourselves, and we created our own image processing software as well. So every time that camera closes, we get those 5 different images straight down in 45-degree angles. We claim to make the best image quality in the industry, and I think most people that use our product will tell you that. As I mentioned before, all geo-reference, you can take active measurements on it. It's useful for many different departments. You can upload any GIS layer that you want to on it, so it can be visualized on there. You capture it in one low altitude flight. With a purchase from us, you will receive a hard drive with 30,000 images on it. Can be used on a desktop situation or installed on a server so that you can use it on any desktop if you lose connectivity. But we also have an online cloud-based software as well that comes with the delivery. Something we're really proud of is that we deliver this imagery within 45 to 60 days routinely. So we'll probably capture sometime in the late January timeframe. You're looking at using or putting this imagery to use in probably April. We offer on-site training for anybody within the county. It's a countywide license. We can also do municipalities if the counties saw fit to allow them to use it as well. We can train anybody within the county who wants to use the country. Obviously, Richard has an interest here, but public safety, police, fire, EMS, every department. 911, I mentioned the CAD system. So instead of looking at an ortho or a top-down image when somebody calls 911 from a specific geo-reference location, it would pop up the image of the size of the building. So it puts the dispatcher, the first responder, and the caller all on the same page. Public Works and Utilities, that's another group. It's actually the third biggest user of pictometry. GIS, planning, zoning, and so forth. These, you'll see judicial and prosecutor, these are authoritative images. They are date stamped. They have been used in a court of law. And working with mainly Wes and Richard here, we've come up with a coverage map or a proposed flight map for Macon County. We've obviously omitted a lot of the national forests. What you're looking at here, these little squares represent 1 square mile. The ones in green are what we would do in a 9-inch resolution. That's really a lower resolution, more rural areas. And the ones in white, which have the boundaries or the shape files that Wes has submitted to me, these are the ones where we apply the higher resolution, the 3-inch imagery. And when you look at all that combined, we come up with 451 sectors of the 9-inch and 62 sectors of the 3-inch. And that's reflected in the contract that I hope you have in front of you. And with that, I'll take any questions that you have. I'm sure you have some.
Line 3-inch, we don't want to catch Commissioner Bill out somewhere.
That's actually depending on the speed. But I will tell Richard that.
Like I said, this is something we've done in the past with 911 money. What my letter to you guys indicated that we was going to ask for a down payment and go forward. However, we reworked the contract, and with the authorization of the board, Mr. Rowland has indicated that we could find it in the budget and go forward. And Mr. Jones has indicated that, he will review the contract and get everything done. What we need from the county board is authorization for the county manager to implement the contract after the review and correction of Mr. Jones, so this can go forward. Because as I stand here right now, we are supposed to have notices for the new values 2 years from about today's date. Well, we got 24 months. I'm sorry?
$8,100, you work that out?
Yeah, we already worked that out.
So
We're just going forward July 1. They have to fly. The only time you can fly in Macon County is you got to fly after no snow on the ground and before the leaves come out. So you're looking at a date late January to mid-February, latest third week of February. That's the only time you have to fly. So if we don't fly this year, we'd have to fly next year, and that'd be 2018. In 2018, the project's no use to me. It's used to warning them, but it wouldn't be no use to me, so we wouldn't get the most coverage. And now, I don't know if you caught it, these images, I'll just bring up one case. When we had that one of those shootings at one of those houses at night, and you don't know about the houses, so your law enforcement and your 911 people will have where they can see 4 sides of that house and think there's 4 exits to this house, there's 2 stories or not 2 stories. All that will be available because it will be on their police units, plus it'll be at the 911 dispatch unit. So all these people will use it. The town of Franklin uses it. The town of Highland, they have access to it. I don't know if they used it the last time, but I know the planning people are really good. You can draw, like I know Mr. Jenkins is in the audience, you can draw, you can see a tower and you don't know where the paperwork is. It's so accurate you could draw that tower out and say it's a 172-foot tower. You can draw the building and say it's got a 14-foot ceiling. That's how accurate it is. So those are the totals we're talking about. I think you had a question for you.
From a cost standpoint, this, the way I read this, it's 8131 times 6.
actually,
No.
What's the cost?
35.
It's 33,000 a year.
Oh, there was no comment.
That was just what we was asked for down payment. The actual cost will be $32,523.68 a year, and this is for 2 flights, so that will go on for 6 years. So the total cost is $195,232. And the reason that we're bringing this, if we don't have these tolls, whether the revaluation is going to be, I'm going to be at the county manager's office and the state's going to tell you I need 4, 5, 6 appraisers, and you'll have to write a check. But what happens is I'll have a personnel with the legacy costs, and the emergency people will have nothing. So the last time Warren paid for this, and I didn't have to pay. This time I'm paying through the reval, and Warren's going to benefit, well, I say Warren, the whole emergency network. So that's how we came presenting it tonight.
I can't help but ask the question, but I presume this wasn't in the budget because the E911 funds paid for in the past, and that was not expected, they weren't going to be paying for them before.
Yeah, they cannot do it because state gives you the one level imager, just the flat roof down. So when the state said we do that, they cut that, you can't use it for anything like this, plus other things. Plus they cut the service fee back where the county don't, have that money coming in.
Question for you, County Manager. I know that obviously tax uses it, EMS uses it, fire uses it, the Republic probably can use it and benefit from it. Is that something that needs to remain in his budget if we do this moving forward, or do you split it between?
The way I see it,
Nothing in that, all comes from the same.
right, in terms of this year's budget, we're not going to be able to bring out in this year's budget. We're just basically giving a commitment, and they're going to fly on that commitment that we're giving, that we're going to come through next year with the 32.5. When Richard explained this to me, just like you heard tonight, when we're able to do what we do in-house, having 43,000 parcels, using 3 appraisers, when you think about that and what those guys are doing, it's really amazing. And we do have technology in place right now, and we used it during this last revaluation, just like we'll use it in the next revaluation. The change finder that he alluded to, when you can sit at a computer and click on a piece of property rather than having to go to each property, and it shows you what they've added on since the last revaluation, then that automatically, those guys can measure it, height, length, get the square footage of that improvement right there, and basically put a value on it without leaving their desk or their computer. And if, to continue operating in-housing, like Richard said, the requirements of the state, they're getting more strict and more strict on how we do revaluations. So, we do have this technology right now. As it integrates with Richard's Keystone tax software that we currently use, and it's basically you're taking the place of 1.5 appraisers for tax. Now, that's not counting Warren and his department, especially dispatch. They're looking at this stuff every day. Would that be safe to say, Warren?
Yes, sir. And it is the same way Richard had talked about. In 2009, 2010, that budget year, we paid for the last flight of this out of the 911 fund. And in 2010, the North Carolina 911 Board decided that there were all sorts of different maps across North Carolina. So they decided to standardize the ortho maps for North Carolina, and they paid for those through that NC1 map section. I'm sure you remember that web page. They pay for those out of the 911 fund and deduct that out of our fund. So in the past, Richard was supplying orthos, we were supplying the obliques. And then in 2010, that changed, and now the North Carolina 911 Board supplies the orthos. We just got our last delivery in January of 2016. And now it will be up to Richard to supply the leaking. We do use those every day.
The state flip-flopped on us. At one time, we were, to be possible, the county would be responsible for 2 lights. See, the original ortho project, the county, this is 100 years ago, seems like, we paid $475,000 for the original mapping project. But then we also, through the 911 fund, paid for the pictometry. Well, now, the state's giving us the one project, but we still have to end up paying for it.
The fact is, Richard, over the years, we know what's happened in our zoning in neighboring counties and counties because we know well what they pay for appraisal. And they have to stop in midstream and go back and redo what it's costing. Yet Macon County continues to save money by having 3 in-house and the money that we save is already paid for. If it's already paid for, it's what you have to do more than more.
Well, I
And
know
how that technology is, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You have to, you know, it's just the next step in technology that we have to do to provide better services for all our departments and for our citizens. So I don't know what we need to do, what we need to do.
This $200,000 project, not just, so you got any other sponsors from anybody else?
There's nobody else in the country that does it.
There's nobody, this is the only company in the country.
The way they do it is patented, that's through the 26 patents or something like that. The other companies fly
Why
flat.
aren't you doing every county in the state if you're on one that does it?
Well, we're adding 5 counties this coming season. We're growing at an exponential rate. We don't have the capacity to apply 100 counties or all 2,500 counties in the country at once. Last season we had 100 airplanes. This season we have 115 aircraft flying countywide projects. We'll do about 600 countywide projects in January, February timeframe. So to answer your question, I think it's a matter of time. We're going to need a lot more aircraft, a lot more camera systems, things of that nature to be able to do that. But we are headed in that direction.
Another thing is, every county don't need it. See, we're rated a medium-sized county now with everything. So we're rated with the Stanley counties and the Lee counties and everybody else. People like Graham County or Scotland County or Pamlico County or Hartford County or some of those counties don't need this. I mean, they're Jones County has 8,000 parcels and 80% of it farmland. So they don't need the code for assessment. So that's one of the big reasons. The other reason is, like I said, if we don't go with this, then I'll be back asking for 1 or 2 more appraisers. And it takes 2 years to get an appraiser certified. So that's not going to help us in this project. And the cost is, average appraiser $35,000 plus your other costs involved with it will run you about $60,000 to $70,000 a year. So, it's just a way of continuing of providing service. Now, if we go out, the county can go say, okay, let's go back out and hire a contractor to come in and do the county revaluations. Right now, that'd be, you got 2 years to do it. So the first one, just doing a desktop, will run you about $500,000 to $600,000. That means you wouldn't go out and measure anything. Second one, you do a full measure and list, it would be over $1 million in 2023. The way the state's setting it up, got Mecklenburg in the problem. They didn't visit some of the properties in 17 years. The state's going to recommend through this whole course that they're recommending, the max time that you don't visit property is 8 years. Well, with the number of staff we have and the 26,000 pictures we keep online and everything else, I can only do that about once every other reval. So we'll do half the county at least visiting everything, and the next time we do the other half. with this tool, that cuts that down, so you can do that. If not, then you'll have to hire people to meet the requirement of visiting the properties. It's a management thing. I think Derek asked me, and maybe one commissioner, how did we do it last time? Well, if you don't forget, we postponed it for 8 years, so we was halfway through it, so we had half the county done. We're talking 2 years now.
Just one more comment to your question earlier. It is $195,000, but that is over a 6-year period. And it includes 2 flights. I don't know if that was clear. And what we do as far as the payment plan, in lieu of the situation we have here, we're making no money due until July 1st, which is 2017. We typically take a deposit, we waive that. And we don't charge any interest or finance charges like that. We allow you to take the cost of the flight and spread it evenly across a 3-year period. You need to pay for your first flight before you get your second flight type deal. So in this situation, it's $32,523 a year. I just wanted to clear that up for you guys to have this. I'll be happy to get this contract to you. But Richard has an electronic copy, so I can.
I have a copy of the county manager.
I've updated it just as of today to take out that initial down payment. Oh, okay, good. Okay.
Any further questions from the board? Any thoughts?
I'll second that motion.
One motion and second.
I think for clarification, it would be to approve this contract that's subject to any changes that I find.
Give you the county manager authorization.
Authorization of the county manager.
And I second that motion.
We'll have a motion and a second.
Any further discussion?
I welcome the full comment. I have concerns about spending $200,000 of citizens' taxpayer dollars without some comparable price. That's probably about a lot of but we're spending taxpayer dollars and we don't have a competitive fee.
And I asked Richard the same thing. And it was hard for me to understand it too, because if they're literally the only company that has these patents to provide the images the way you provide. Does any other company do what you guys are doing?
That's my knowledge. I mean, anybody that hangs, oblique is a term, anybody that hangs out of a helicopter and takes a picture, we call it an oblique image. What makes us different is the fact that we're able to geo-reference in our software that we provide to you. No one else has the integrations that we have. No one else is going to be able to integrate with the CAD system. No one else is going to be able to integrate with the Keystone software. So our integrations in our software is really what sets us apart. Our imagery is fantastic, it's phenomenal. But it's the integrations in the software that sets us apart.
And those patents better when you have your patents.
Well, the camera system has a lot of patents on it as well. We have, as I mentioned, 26 something patents, and over 30 on the image processing software. And that's really the difference.
You know, to be fair to Mr. Gillespie, part of our mapping, our info is kind of a limited base software too. About 78-90% of the government units are tied to ARC info. So if you want to go out there and get something comparable, you could get something, but it won't be the same tool that all the government units use. So you kind of are limited to certain areas of what you can buy.
Over the 6-year period, when Josh was in 6 years ago, I think I'm the only one that was here 6 years ago. When Josh was $150,000 in a lot of those same places in college he has. Yes. Right. You know, even though the money's coming from 911 at that time, that was still,
Yeah.
You know, if you spread that over that period of time, and knowing if you could go out and hire people, we were facing the same thing, and that was one of the time when it was tough. I mean, we were stretching things and postponing things and doing things differently. So if you have to go out and hire people to replace those things and still not get as good as appraisal as you will from the photo. I mean, Macon County's been so blessed, people on the cutting edges. I mean, there's not many counties you can go through today and see what Macon County has.
You know, just our relicensing fees on our softwares through the different ones we have in the county, it runs the county over $100,000 and just to turn your computer on.
Well, in an entry level appraiser, assuming they have the training, you don't have to take the 2 years to train, you're looking at $55,000 a year salary equivalent.
And our neighbors went through, if you listen to their history, went through over half the rebates. Discovered that, well, this is not working, stop, and hired a contract. This was close to $200,000 to spend that they had, it was just free. So, to my knowledge, we've never had to go that route either, so, if it enhances the technology and the EMS department and all the other departments on the citizens, there's people look at, I don't know how many hits you get every day on property searches.
You know, and I think this board needs to really start thinking, we used to think about personnel, but it's technology now. Our software that we use is 40 plus years old. Same software you use when you was in college. To update that software, I don't care where you go, whatever company you want to go to, it's going to be roughly a $2 million job. So this goes in line with, you know, it's to the point that we have to keep coming back, and I'm coming back to Derek and the board this coming year. We have to start spending more on our software because it's not going to be to the point where we can use it efficiently. And this is a tool that's helping. We got a lot of software out there that interconnect, and we pay a lot of money to keep it running because software is so old. And this is what you're going to see a lot of in the future. A lot of software demonstrations and costs going out for companies because we are not in the software business. If you want to develop your own software, get about 20 handy sitting over here writing it. So, I mean, this is just what the county's going to be. We're larger than we used to be, so we have to provide a lot of that stuff.
We received some good comment, some good testimony. Carl, I definitely appreciate what you had to say there. I personally, I didn't think it's an outstanding tool, and although I agree with you in the fact that it would be great to get it out, no offense. But I think it's worth more to us up front to not have it. So I think it's going to be good to have. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The rest of the question and answer session. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, property tax commission settlement. You want to take a break? We got one more item. It's not
This one, Bradley Roberts. You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you, Ward. Thanks, Ward. Rich, item number 3, property tax commission settlement from the revaluation.
Yeah, we had a case filed with the tax commission, and our attorney in Raleigh advised us to really fine tune anything we could. So we did that when we presented to the taxpayer, and they accepted, but under law, they can request a refund for if they had already paid. They did for this year, so that amount is $114 to settle this case. And to give you an idea, if I go to Raleigh on any case, you're looking at $3,500 to $5,000. So we recommend you spend $115,000.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion? Second, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The record reflects unanimous.
Thank you for being patient with us, board.
All right, before we get to item B, so we've had two take off for breather. Is there anyone else that wants to keep on breathing? Chester, you good? Paul? You good? Ryan, you good? I'm good. Eric? I know you're a little under the weather. Okay.
Better hurry, that's what the crowd. I got to check on it. Blue dog, probably show up.
Item B, Business Development Center lease with Major Display Incorporated. Economic Development Director is Tommy Jenkins. Okay, Tommy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, county manager. What we got today is we've got a proposed lease for Business Development Center with Major Display. I know y'all are familiar with Major Display. Been here in the county at one time, moved to Clayton, and have moved back to Franklin and leased 15,000 square feet of S4 SKF, which is big time. That's good for the manufacturing space. It does not serve their office needs for their sales staff, accounting and such. So they came to us and wanted to lease 1,000 square feet. So your lease, but it's on a month-to-month basis, 30-day out on either side.
It's actually written as a year lease, but either party may end it on 30 days notice without him.
And I know there were some concerns from, I think, the last meeting. We checked on those, and their issues have been resolved. How many boys we got around town? Is this office, is this the, it's in the BDC? It's just one of the 1,000 feet units. One of the 1,000 feet units in the back. In the back? Yeah, and they're just going to use the fibers. I don't look for it to be a 3-year project.
Because I passed out a resolution in connection with this proposed lease as well as lease.
We approve of both this one.
Yeah, I think if you pass the resolution,
Approve the lease. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
so moved.
Motion from Commissioner Higgins, need a second. Second, Commissioner Bell, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The record reflect unanimous decision. That's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Item number C has been removed from consideration. We move on to item number D, discussion of liaison committees and appointments. Commissioner King. As you gentlemen know, part of my duty as chairman is to appoint each of us to represent certain boards, committees, departments of the county. And while going through it, I'm sort of looking at some of these committees that I don't think have had a meeting since I've been on the commission. And so I went and met with Commissioner Bill because he's been on here the longest, and I quizzed him on them. He was in agreement. So I don't know, did y'all get these out there? Email or I'll mention them. I had 9 liaison committees for board assignments, and I thought we might remove from our committees, and I thought that all of you were in agreement consensus-wise. We might let Chester look into it and make sure we can. I also wanted to add a new one and maybe make a couple changes to it, 3 of the committees. But I guess the biggest priority is to make sure that anybody that serves on one of these boards is not going to get their feelings hurt by removing the board. But at the same time, I don't think they would, because they probably haven't met since I've been official for 5 years. Tremendous still. The ones that I'm would like to potentially see removed, again, this is up for discussion, is the Crosby Center in Highlands. I don't think I've had a meeting there as a commissioner. The daycare study committee, which I think was,
That was, we created that committee and we met and we done our report and, the only thing I would ask insurance, that committee everyone to read, Wednesday, said we'd come back for more.
at that time. I'm just trying to, again, I think the whole goal of this is to try and make our board a lot more efficient at what we do. The Housing Task Force, Humane Society, Welfare Reform, Well Study Committee, WMC tomorrow, Child and Family Council. And, the last one, Chamber of Promotion and Tourism, in my opinion, I think the TDC kind of oversees those. So I think we could have. So, any thoughts on those, and maybe we'll remove one of those from consideration?
Take them all up. Well, that chill on his dangerous dogs committee.
That's still the gotta have that.
You gotta have that.
Well, those are the 9. Chester, I'll get you this list. Those are the 9 I was going to remove. Liaison committees I'd like to change are, I think the health board, just the quantity of time that it's taking for that, we might consider putting 2 liaisons on that one versus 1. Whereas presently, and vice versa, Inspections and Building Commission has 2 liaisons. I think we might reduce it to 1. And then provide MPP 2 liaisons versus 1. And of course, the new one, which we discussed earlier tonight, will be adding the broadband task force.
Chester has a copy of here.
Does it?
Yes.
Okay. Thoughts on that, comments, and if this is good, we'll probably handle that at our next meeting, and I'll also hand out board assignments at that meeting.
Good go. Just remember, make sure that all He likes dogs. Dogs and youngins. Dogs and youngins, yeah.
All right, moving on to item number E under new business, Board of Education liaison report, the December 7th, 2016 meeting.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Shields, Commissioner Shields, myself, Superintendent Baldwin, Board Chairman, Mr. Breedlove, and Mr. Gibbs was there, along with school board member, Mr. Stokes, Mr. Cade was under the weather, did not make it. We did discuss some things that the school board, they gave us an update on several things. Number one was the track that they had, if you remember the track, after we had approved some funds for the track, they had some problems with some bubbling and a lot of bubbling in areas, but thanks to the school personnel, they come up with probably a better solution than the track people did. And so far so good with that. They took money out of capital outlay, and so far so good, and it's holding well. Hopefully it'll be having the track meets there in the spring. So we'll just have to see how that goes. That's what the report that was given to us. Is that pretty much it in a nutshell? But kudos to the personnel, to the maintenance personnel, and the work that they did, and they did a great job. They did have 2 requests that come forward. Number one was the roof at Highlands Gym. Remember, they put it out for bid. We had, this board had approved the amount of, surrounded up $217,172. Pretty close, right, Lori? That's what we had approved, to help pay for the roof. After everything was said and done and the roof was installed, the actual cost of that roof was right at $249,000. So that the request from the school board was to replace that money into their outlay budget of $31,828. And Mr. Shields can certainly speak to it. Our feeling was that if you go back, even though this roof was only basically 10, 11 years old, but at the heart of it, Mr. Chairman, this was a county problem. It was a county problem to start with. The county was responsible for this roof being put. Even though they had hired the people an architect and a contractor put it on. Ultimately, if you remember, that reason Terry Bell was worth every penny that we paid him to oversee the construction of the new school that we did. Somebody's got to be watching. And been in the business, so they went out and hired getting roofing to do this. And they had pictures to show where it was just improperly installed, nowhere to go. I mean, it was just, we could have patched, we could have put more screws, we could have done everything we done, and it would still look like this. So they did replace the roof entirely. And it has rained, and it ain't leaked yet, unless it leaked today.
It has not leaked for rain.
So that's good. So, but that amount was $31,828. That was the first request, and we'll talk about that one first. And Mr. Shields can speak to it, but I think we're in agreement that this was a county problem to start with, period. I mean, it was, we had approved 217. I think the school did their due diligence. Tried to get the best deal they could on the roof. We thought they could get by with around $200,000. When everything was said and done, and the extra work that had to be done to fix this roof system. It's easy to bid something, but when they got in there, they found that, just, if you can see the picture, I guess Chris got it, but the belt was put down, it was just, there's one word for this that was a call. That's the word you have to put in. Is that a bad? That's pretty good. Is that that's a technical word. So we would recommend, Mr. Chairman, on that we open up for discussion. The county reimbursed to the capital outlay $31,828. Now, that is a form of promotion from the liaison, from me.
From which fund?
Well, that's the question we need to talk about. I mean, our capital outlay, we're about, tonight, look at what we're spending, I think we're down to probably 80,000.
We started with 102,869 this evening, so we checked in 4,800, and then 6,700. So 11,500, 11,900. Okay, like 21,000.
So we're pretty close. So if we take this down, if we take another 31 down, that's going to put us close to around 50 grand, and we still got 6 months to go. We're going to do some major renovations at the community building, at the partner building. So I think it's up for discussion, Mr. Manager.
What was what did we originally start with this year?
And contingency, it was about 203, 204.
203. Now, I remember the first budget year, my first budget ever when I was with the county, we had about 100,000 for the year to start. So I think, 6 months left, we got 50,000. I think that we can get by on 50,000 barring an emergency. We're just going to have to be really aware of that and monitor that usage in the contingency fund moving forward, because to remind you, that 200,000 that we have in contingency is a representation of budgeted revenues exceeding budgeted expenditures. So we're not taking that money from anywhere. That money is truly a contingency fund and truly our budgeted revenues exceeding budgeted expenditures. So as long as we're aware of that, I think Mr. Billy mentioned the Carpenter building. We're going to have a special projects fund, and I think this board has previously discussed appropriating that money out of fund balance into that fund. So that should be separate and apart from the contingency. I do think, as long as we're just really aware and really mindful moving forward, we should be able to hold out, because like I said, I think the first year was 100,000, the next budget was maybe 140,000. So this year we had an extremely high contingency, higher than normal, just because, again, conservative budgeting combined with very increasing sales tax and some other things, although it was very minimal, those increases in revenue.
And let me just add this, that the school system is also encouraging, they have unexpected expense too, they're now replacing, they've done some good things. A boiler had been purchased several years ago. If it had not been purchased, that would have been another hit to their capital outlay. They're having to do some major work at the Fine Arts Building right now, out of their capital outlay. So at that meeting, you're going to hear another report here shortly. But so we asked the superintendent and Mr. D-Love, if you had to replace one, if we do set some money, which one would you think? And he said the capital outlay, because they just never know what's in store. These 15 degree nights or something blows up, they don't have no choice to do that.
So we have a motion on the floor to pay for this contingency.
Yes, sir.
Second, Commissioner Shields, further discussion.
I've been on board 4 years, and I've heard about the leaking with, the health money back, blah, blah, blah. Just finally we got down to the nut cutting. There is a document on record of the architect signing off on this thing, that all work was done, was accomplished in a satisfactory manner before the final payment was paid to the contractors. Am I right? Yes. Is there any recourse? I mean, it bothers me that we let this thing leak for 10 years and never fixed it. Got in there, there was more damage, obviously. Do we have any recourse to a licensed professional architect that stated that work was completed satisfactorily?
Maybe less opportunity there to statute proposed.
Yeah.
There may be some potential liability in the building structure.
That's just
Case law that indicates that statute of limitations come out.
But he's out of business.
They're out of business.
what is
Yeah,
that?
it is.
What is the limitation on?
Generally, you're looking at 3-year statute of limitations.
I just had to ask that question because I hate to just sit here and a professional. I mean, I'm a professional, Ron, all of us are. If we sign off on something,
I believe it's called, that is been pursued.
That's a different story.
That's been pursued with the school attorney and
he
was out of business. He was out of business. He didn't like, I think he was out of business at that job.
no architect. So is there not some liability, professional liability?
It's hard to compete. I mean,
You've got statute of limitations, and you also have what's called statute of repose. Statute of repose is different. It basically says you must bring the action within a certain period of time, and failing to do that, you don't have it.
And that's what we found. We found it.
and it did take time for this roof to deteriorate to the point to where it was in the past 3 years. It did take some time for it to not gym. Well, yeah, and it, in the past 3 years, and it was going to get worse and worse and worse. And once you saw the pictures that Mr. Gibbs had, and those of us who've been on the roof and saw, and the county tried to repair it, and we thought it could be a lot of different things, but once you started taking it off, it was just
It's been so 10 years.
oh yeah, I mean, if you'd seen it, you just said,
I saw the roof.
I mean, but if you'd seen the panels when they come on,
That's good. We're rotted.
it was just, so it's one
County
of
wants
those.
me to evaluate it, I'd be happy to evaluate it, I think not. Look into what.
I think you can talk to Mr. Henning and probably get what they found out from school. Might save the county some money and you looking into it.
Authoritative end of closure statement on this thing, that there is no avenue for us to, no recourse, avenue of recourse on anything. And I understand that we've had people look into it. I've heard all kinds of things related to this roof, and some of it is pan out.
If it's the board of pleasure, I'd be more than happy to look into it.
It won't hurt. I mean, it won't hurt nothing.
Personally, I'd like to know that there is.
But that's gonna cost us money too.
Yeah.
It is. So that's costing us, so. I checked with him to just see what what's already been found out first.
That's satisfactory for the moment and report back to you.
Just some kind of closure statement that we have no recourse, you know.
We have a warranty on this tree now. What was
3 years on workmanship and lifetime on material.
I will give you my 2 cents each. It's obvious, based upon what we're given, the county should pay for this, the state should pay for this. And this is quite obvious that the county should be paying for this because it's part of infrastructure. And even though I would like to say the state built this, I don't think we can. So I'm in favor of this. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Let the record reflect unanimous decision.
Now, the second request came from, if you remember, and I let the county manager talk about the numbers, that in the budget, if you remember, on the teacher supplement, that we, through the years, we'd always paid X amount of dollars for the teacher supplement. Well, this year, it has come up short for several reasons. The first reason was, of course, the legislature gave raises. For some teachers, not all teachers, for some teachers, it was in great amounts across the board. And with those raises, the supplement, 2%, those supplements went up. That was the first reason. The second reason was that there were some bonuses involved. Local money was used, about $41,000 of local money was used for bonuses that the school board decided to use the bonuses in their system. And that money was used out of local money to pay for those bonuses. And that was another shortfall. The third thing was that the superintendents, the principals and assistant principals also got their supplement. And that, so all that being said, the supplement came up $23,415 short of what we had appropriated. Mr. Shields can certainly speak to it. My thought is that this is one of those items that I think we should put in our January meeting for discussion when we have our budget meetings to see as we move forward. And not that these teachers certainly don't deserve the supplement. I think we all agree with that. There's no question. But if the state continues to give raises, continue to give bonuses, at what point, you know, it's going to be, we gave 439. If we do this, it's 454. 430. We gave 430. 430. If we do this, it's around 454. If they give another raise, it's another 5%, it'll be at 478. Then it's going to be at 525. At what point do we need to talk about this board really needs to have a discussion at some point?
Thank you. That's tough because we're making our budget before the state's doing theirs.
Yeah.
That's correct in saying that.
And that's what makes it tough. And that's what makes it tough for Chris and for the school board too. But if they continue to do that, you know, where does it put the county?
Can I make a comment on that? Back in 04, 05, when the supplement was first initiated, the total amount requested at that time, paid out at that time, was $350,897. That's out of a budget appropriate expenditures of the county of $34,722,000, or roughly 1% of the county's budgeted expenditures in 04, 05. This year, 16-17, at the requested $454,000 out of a budgeted expenditures of $47 million, it's less than 1% of the budget. So it has gone up with salary increases and that sort of thing, but at about the same rate that the county budget has gone.
Understood.
And speaking to that, and Carl's in on the board, and I'm still learning too. When this thing was initiated in 2004, it was worded just for the teachers and teachers' assistants.
I have the letter here.
Yeah, gosh, I'd love to see a copy of that. And I can't get in my mind why you would target out, or why you would, and I mean, teachers and assistants are extremely they're the backbone of your operation, they can't function in a dirty building or a cold building.
How much was that with IC money, the 47 million?
I'm sorry?
The 47 million that you spoke to, a lot of that was IC money.
It's total, I'm just looking at total.
Yeah, but a lot of that was IC money. That,
Well, I just looked at the budget expenditures in 0405 compared to the budget expenditures in 15
I think that 14 million, that was IC money.
Yeah, I think DSS and health alone.
Yeah, DSS and health alone was just IC.
What were we doing for about 12 million?
This year, I know this year, we got 12 million of that this past year.
You can figure that the same percentage of that.
So, what, roughly?
So what you're recommending, the liaison, please recommend that we wait until January to discuss this, before we get our mid-year report?
Well, the fact, and it's just, and the school board has went ahead and paid up through, they did take the 41,000 out of local funds and paid, you know, and they did that on their own and paid up and paid the supplement up. But I think that it's a discussion that we need to have as we move forward in the total school budget.
And what you're saying is, what you were saying earlier, you're not disagreeing, neither am I.
I'm not disagreeing at all, but I think it's, but some teachers didn't get a raise at all. You know, some, in this formula that the legislature put out, some teachers never got .0003, right, which is big number.
But they're all getting a supplement. They're all getting the supplement.
They're all getting supplement, but some did get the raise, so we've not really saw those numbers of, you know, and we don't get into what's fair for the teachers, but, and to make it fair for them, you know, we are the only county this far west who even gives us something, so we want to, you know, that's wonderful, we have to do it, and be supportive of that. But at the same time, if they continue to give the raises, if they continue to give bonuses, which that's a new thing, by the way, it's going to continue to, and with the capital outlay, you know, we have, Chris has a problem out of South Macon right now that we're going to have to address. That school has seen an explosion of kids, which is not a bad thing, but he's now having to use, that school is now 15
years old.
Going on 16 years old. So, and so he's already having a space problem now at South Macon, and they're making do right now, but that's going to have to be looked at.
I want to see if Dr. Baldwin will agree. Seems a little confused about a bonus that was paid. The bonus we paid in Treatment from Rosary really didn't have anything to do with the shortage of the supplement. It was something totally different. Basically, when the supplement came in, we had given y'all an estimate of $439,000 to get for the supplement type stuff. What happened was, I think Derek said that y'all actually allotted $430,600.
Yeah, and if I could, we did, yes.
So really, the difference we're talking about is not with the bonuses. The difference we're talking about is the fact it's $454,000 roughly with the supplement versus $430,000, which is what we received, what we budgeted from the county.
Yeah,
I mean the $23,000. So the bonuses, I guess what I'm saying is that the bonuses didn't have anything to do with the shortage of this. That was a totally another matter that dealt with something that the state had.
But it is something that we did have to come up with out of local.
Okay,
But that is local, that's, Macon County takes care of all.
And if you want to go again, we can give you more.
That clears it for me.
And the reason I want to say that is one of the reasons Commissioner Higgins asked about, the reason we gave the bonus is one of the things he had brought up about, we had a class of people that after the state took some action outside the supplement to give a lot of amount of money we gave as a bonus to our employees, due to the way that they worded that, a lot of our deserving employees were left out of that. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, our clerical, our custodial staff that would have been totally left out of that money that came from the state. So in order to try to reward our loyal employees and make it fair across the board for those that would not have gotten anything, that's where the bonus came out. That's the money that we got.
And just to add to that, what Mr. Bill said earlier, the across the board salary increases that the teachers received, we had to come up with that for a locally paid teacher. So that's an additional increase.
As you mentioned, we budgeted, the county budgeted $430,000. The school board originally requested $439,000. We get
That's basically.
estimated 439. Well, either way, we're both off of 454, pretty substantial, 17,000 or 24,000. We go with that $9,000 or thereabouts. But, you know, if you look back, and what makes it even more difficult from a budgeting standpoint, at the time we entered into these negotiations, the school board did not know how many teachers there were going to be that year. And they didn't know what the state budget was going to be at that time. So in fiscal year 13, they had requested $430,621, which is what it was this year. And at that time, there was a $9,000 surplus. In fiscal year 14, when $430,000 was requested, there was a $29,000 surplus. In fiscal year 15, when $430,000 was requested, there was a $10,000 surplus. In fiscal year 16, when $430,000 was requested, there was a $4,000 surplus. So in budgeting, we had never exceeded that $430,000 mark. So when that, in estimating $439,000, yet not knowing how many teachers or what the state budget was going to be, I chose to stick with $430,000, and I feel like when you go back and look at those $53,000 worth of surplus over the 5 years leading up to that, or the 4 years leading up to that, that budgeting $430 was justified. So that's where that budget number comes from. And in previous years, like fiscal year 14, there was enough money left over from the supplement that the county give for them to cover their entire amount of principals and assistant principal supplements. So that freed up that money to go elsewhere. So that supplement has been good and fruitful over the years at $430,000. But admittedly, they did request $439,000. We budgeted $430,000, but that's just a little history behind why that amount.
And that's also why we wouldn't budget high in this situation. As you know, budgets, you always try to budget a little high. But knowing the fact that you vote in, always been gracious enough to let us use that surplus for other things within the budget, we decided to make sure that we did not budget high, but as close as we possibly could based on what the projections were coming from the state, which was a 3% budget.
At the end of the day, does everybody in the school system get some kind of pay increase?
Not necessarily. This particular year? Yes.
Your custodians,
This year, due to the fact that we take the bonus, and the state gave us an extra bonus.
bonus is not pay raise.
No,
You're right.
not at all. It was just a one-time deal, Commissioner, about, the state came up with, was it 50?
That did not get, if that was your question.
But everybody had an adjustment in pay this year. Some of it is recurring, some of it is not.
And it's just like the county does. We do our 1% appreciation bonus, which is about $145,000 every year. That's exactly what that is. Except they're just 2%.
Let's handle this here, whatever we need to do to work. But let's revisit, this was from a previous board. Why they just gave you to pick that classroom teaching personnel.
To be honest with you, that for my time, I'm not quite.
To me, it just seems like from a team building standpoint, take $430,000 every year, you split it up with your 500 employees, everybody's getting the same skin.
We have this option. It's probably discussed at that level.
This, I might get a copy of that. Derek, you got a copy of that? Can I have that copy? There's a copy on it. I mean, I never have figured out how to come up with that model. We're just going to pick out the teachers, the assistants, and they're great people.
Why not every, they copied most of the counties.
But most of the counties don't do this now. You said nobody in the western part of the state.
Nobody don't give us something, but most counties give from your own, give something. Wayne County does not give zero.
You said nobody in the western part gave us
I
something.
think Cherokee gives us, because they do something. No, nobody west of us gives us something at all.
Oh, I thought you said nobody in the west. Nobody west of us.
West of us gives us something at all. Something, now Pennsylvania County gives more, Buckingham County gives more, Haywood County, I think, gives more.
What type of supplement is that?
Same thing.
Just teachers and.
I think if you read theirs, you'll find it, that's the same way.
Why don't the bus drivers and the custodians?
No, I think principal is across the board.
It's just, very few counties, you'll find very few.
You ever hear any
counties.
complaints from your staff?
Oh, yeah. A lot of it depends on the size of the county and what you can afford.
Why would you pick teachers? I mean, nothing, I'm not picking on teachers, teachers
Because you ain't
sick.
got teachers and teacher assistants, the rest of it don't matter.
How do they do it in a cold building or a leaky building? Or a dirty building?
I guess if you ain't got teachers and teacher
Or if the
assistants.
school bus
you don't
driver
need-
don't get the kids there, I mean, it's a team effort. It's a to me, everything in business and government should be a team effort.
The liaisons have requested to put this on our January agenda.
Or next time. I understand. Again, lots of subdivisions, but there are provisions as far as the subdivision.
Yes, no, I appreciate that. No, so thank you, Chairman. Two and two is finally starting to have the board.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have this discussion again, January, guys?
We will be here if you'd like for us to be here.
It started January.
That's what we'll be here.
That's like 2 weeks, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank y'all very much.
All right, item F, discussion of agenda formation for the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Higgins.
We've had some good discussions tonight. And Carl been here and you and others doing we're gonna start the budget thing when, Derek? We start that in June or January?
We'll have our kickoff meeting sometime near the end of January.
And I understand there's two things, fund balance and contingency that we can dip in to get money like we're doing tonight.
Fund balance is typically for your major capital projects that will be one time in nature. Contingency fund is be used during the fiscal year to cover shortfalls in areas.
We get the agenda, Mike, I appreciate that. I know you're waiting, but we get on Friday afternoon, Thursday or Friday. And that's as quick as you can get it out. I've had people ask me, what do we talk about? And I know if you put it on, post it on the website or whatever, I've never been on the website, I'm not a techie, I don't do that. Is there a way we could get it in the paper? And I don't want to do anything to load you up.
Well, the load would be the same, the timing would be substantially different. A lot of decisions about what's going on that agenda are going to have to be made very early, because if the folks at the press need it published on Wednesday or Thursday, they're going to have it Monday and Tuesday prior to tonight.
Could we as a board not come up with a, I mean, we know what's going to be on the agenda, we take time.
It would be, that would be when the agenda and the agenda packet had to be ready to go to the paper. So we would need to know what was in the agenda packet by to give Mike time to put it in there by the close of business Friday. Mike would have to have the agenda packet put together by 2 o'clock Friday.
We go ahead.
I mean, it wouldn't be something we print for free either, it has to be an ad, it'd be expensive.
It'd be an ad, right? It'd be an ad.
And the radio station usually,
It runs on radio station.
yeah, they usually run on like a little thing and they'll kind of take some highlights saying what you're going to talk about.
We
rather than
talk-
putting
we
the
do that
agenda.
as well.
Ryan, would that be an ad in the press too? It wouldn't be free to be an ad, right?
I would imagine so.
Or what if we just said, whichever paper gives us the cheapest, we'll take it and put it in one paper.
We also put it on Facebook as well, like with the pertinent things that are on the agenda. Pretty
Okay.
accurate.
We get it on Friday, we're gonna do it on weekend, then we'll come out on Tuesday, and frequently we have changes to that budget. I mean, to the agenda. And I know sometimes we don't get supporting documents. I sat there on the weekend, read this thing, go through everything, try to get my mind around it. And then I know last month we allocated $1.5 million that was not in the budget expenditures, and then the month before that was about $526,000 of non-budget expenditures. And I'm just sitting here, well, wait a minute, we're gonna vote on spending $1 million or $2 million, and I've not had time to digest it. Then we'll look over at Lori and say, Lori, you got $1 million, where we get that $1 million? And she's fidgeting around here scratching on her calculator, and they're saying the same thing. Would it be prudent to say that if we want to change the agenda that has a spending item attached to it, that we could have a month to review that, giving the finance department and the county manager an opportunity to digest it, not necessarily approve it, but to have a look on. I hate to see you try to come up, you're sitting here doing your math every night.
it doesn't seem an appropriate way to do things.
I see where you're coming from. I think a month is a bit long to look at some of that, whereas.
Looks like a week.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around what you're saying.
I mean, I don't want to say about it, and these are all probably worthy things. The things that we've had the last 2 months are certainly worthy. I didn't had all parking metals, community centers, bulletproof vests, airport, but it was just dropped in her lap at the meeting, and I'm sitting here trying to, we couldn't even gather any supporting documentation for the airport. We had to text the chairman here in the meeting. We didn't have any supporting documentation for us to digest over the weekend. I think when we're spending taxpayer dollars, as Carl alluded to, we just need a little time to digest, or maybe I did. I was slower study than most. If we want to change the agenda, we've already advertised one agenda that had nothing on it about spending attached, non-budgeted expenditures, whatever. We just have a little time to digest that. I personally need a little time to digest it. I don't think there's anything in the emergency nature that we couldn't wait. And on Haywood County, they won't vote on anything that's brought up. If you bring up something tonight that's going to cost us $8,000, they won't vote anything. They wait till the next month. And
Can't disagree with what you're saying, Bob. I didn't know where you were going with this tonight about the agenda formation. Was it going to be something to do with chairman or what you were meeting with it?
no, you keep forming it. I don't ever request anything except tonight.
When I was thinking about it today, I asked Eric late this afternoon, right before the meeting, to print off the rules of procedure that this board abides by. So I just made a copy for each of us.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's great. I should have given supporting documentation for that's the first time I've ever wanted anything on the agenda, Jim.
When I glanced through it, I saw one error just real quickly, which is on page 2. I'll pass these out.
Yeah. I got one about the facts. I'm requesting supporting documentation and provide you with it. I apologize.
Page 2, rule number 5, number A, has our meeting dates, which is obviously.
Each year you establish.
It has that in there, I think under 5B, that we do in our December meeting. And this one says we meet, what does it say? Second, fourth Mondays, yeah.
You've actually gone another step to provide the statute setting your schedule of meetings. And the county's in good stead. But there is some work that could be done to those rules of procedure to update them a little bit. And indeed, the rules of procedure, I think to some degree, address Mr. Hickman's concerns as it is right now. Technically, the agenda goes out, and technically, unless the board approves talking about things that were not on the agenda, then those items that come in at the last minute like that, really, you're not supposed to be addressed unless there's a majority of the board approves those items discussed. And so I think to some degree you've got a little bit of protection on that, on those things where something's brought up to you at the last minute and you really need a little bit more time to think about it, study it. I think the board can say, wait, if the majority of the board says, no, we're going to go ahead and go forward with it, then you go forward with it under these rules. But if 3 people say, wait, then you wait. I think furthermore, what I have observed over the years that I've been serving as county attorney, I have seen a tremendous amount of courtesy extended among the board, that if somebody asks for their opportunity to look at something a bit further, what I've seen is that opportunity extended. And, I really admired that about this board, the extension of courtesy back.
And I apologize. Again, I've never asked for anything to be on the agenda, so I just emailed mine, but I should have provided supporting documentation. And I apologize for that.
But anyway, I think it might be prudent if we all glance through these if you haven't before. And what I read through this afternoon, it looks to me like 95-98% of this is good stuff.
So I hate to cut that discussion short, but I got to do more.
We have to close session. We're not.
Good to see you. Raleigh, man. So who do you go? Pardon? Who do you go? Who do you go? Who do you go?
Oh, HP2 goes.
Yeah. Hey, Phil, he gone. Not here.
This one is some talk about.
He's on.
Somebody get into that when if anybody reads through this and wants to bring it back up,
Yeah.
let us, me or Mike or Derek, somebody know, and we'll put it back on the agenda. If most of it looks good, just leave it as is.
Thank you.
Adjustment.
I'd be happy to go through and point out some things that I think might be worth discussion. Be helpful.
Thank you.
Is this something we do during a work session, or are we doing it between now and the next meeting?
Let's just digest it.
I think just read through it and look through it, if we have some changes, I think we're all gonna do that. That's some recommended changes and how we go. Like I say, I'm very, as Chester mentioned earlier, I'm gonna reiterate the fact of how well Kevin led his board and doing exactly some of the things that you mentioned, basically showing respect to all the commissioners, doing his best to make sure we all work together and extend that bit of courtesy if there is a major issue. Slow down. Okay, let's take a look. Let's understand where you're coming from.
I think indeed
I think that's really good.
the ethics policy of the county commissioners contemplates that being there's legitimate need for the county commissioner professional study when we do it. On the other hand, you can sort of box yourself in, corner inadvertently too if you have an emergency situation. So there's a balance in this guy.
That's a great point.
Is there a definition of emergency related to county government? I think emergency is what the board defines it at the moment.
All lines clear.
With one exception.
Beer hall.
Miller time.
All right, item number 12, consent agenda. There's no items that any commissioner would like to be removed. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion approved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. A second. We have a second. Further discussion? Anything called? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Let the record reflect that 4 commissioners voted for it. Commissioner Bill was Henry Raleigh. All right, item number 13, appointments. This item was changed. Like we had 1 seat open, now have 3 seats. One's you. One was, I think, Cheryl. The third one is liaison. Joe Deal. Do you have a recommendation?
A recommendation to.
How many? I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. How many? We received 4. We got another one today.
John Sherrill, Aaron Garrett, David Culpepper, Tommy Potts, and then Joe
You
Deal.
got 1. Okay. Go ahead.
Make a recommendation that Joe Deal, we're considered to be back on the land board. Joe's been there a few years in some leadership positions. Also, Tommy Potts, kind of a new person. I'm not aware of his responsibility before. Coach Potts, has 30 years general manager of Franklin Machine. He has his own business. His area of expertise with university business management, and also he has some private time. Aaron Garrett, another new person, I want to say we love. His areas of expertise he listed as land development and planning, land development and planning, real estate, zoning / permitting. And those are his 3 areas of expertise. And those are the 3 that I'd like to recommend be placed back on the plan.
So I'm just going to just put this up for Mike's sake. Because one of these is a staggered term. Are you saying, let's see, Joe would go back in his seat, and which one would take, because your term expires? So it doesn't matter then, they're all, well, maybe it does. Were you halfway through your term? Is my point? But it's a 4-year, or a 2-year appointment.
Yeah,
You
whoever
see where I'm
would be
coming
taking
from?
his seat would take the balance.
The balance.
Of the existing term.
But then you said be back on the board. All these, no one will be back on will be Joe, because John's losing his seat. John Sherrill. But he's requested to be back on there.
I would recommend you deal with filling the vacancy caused by Carl filling on this board first, separate. It's a little different. You need to fill that one because it's going to be a different term for Lee. It'll be for the balance of his term.
Let's go with Joe Deal. That means Joe Deal has been on there in 3 or 4 years. He was that full time. 2 years. He's also national back.
I think you were thinking Joe would be appointed for a whole new term.
He'll do a whole new term for a reappointment.
He'll retain the seat.
That was my understanding.
But he's retaining his seat.
So, what you're telling me, when you come on, it doesn't start back over.
Correct.
He's not
If he doesn't finish, for example, if Carl has not finished his existing term there, then you would have to reappoint, you have to appoint somebody to fill his vacancy, but it is for the balance of his term. If it's 1 year, then it'd be 1 year. If it's 3 years, it'd be 3 years.
But in Joe's case, it's just like a commissioner that gets elected again. They never leave the board or reappointed and hold their seat. They just got a brand new term.
I mean, you could theoretically, if his term comes to an end, you could theoretically have him fill that vacancy, but it would only be for a period of time remaining vacant.
So Joe Deal will be reappointed back to the country.
That's at the discretion of the board. They can do it whichever way.
But it'd be my recommendation that he be reappointed back to the board. Planning board.
Okay, so let's take that as a motion. We have a second on the motion. We have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Okay, so Joe Dale goes back in for Joe Dale, and that's a 2-year term, 3-year term.
So that would be.
This will be his second
That would be
term.
the second 3-year term.
And then after that, he's got to come on.
And he can have to approve that.
I'm waiting now. Get the hang of this.
Now, we'll do, you want to do the next two.
Let's do.
I think you need to.
One at a time. Make a recommendation under Cox. I think we'll put back looking forward to the plan
Are you
My
thinking,
unexpired term, or the remainder of my term.
you thinking in terms of having him fill a vacancy for Carl? Fill the vacancy created by Carl for the remainder of his.
That'd be my motion.
Sheriff C. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. So we got 2 done, so he'll have, just to get registered, he'll have his unexpired term.
He will fill the unexpired term.
Gotcha. Third one.
Aaron Garrett. So he'll be going in with a 3-year term.
3-year term.
3-year term. Replacing, sure. Right then, Aaron Garrett. We'll play board. We'll have to stay for a 3-year term.
I think that is the seat vacancy.
we have a second motion? Motion and second discussion.
Just one comment. Mr. Garrett is the registered land surveyor, and we have had registered land surveyors on that board previously, and they have proven to bring great value to that board. So I think he was going to bring great value to that board. And specifically in regards to the planning board, I would encourage the board to maybe loosen the reins up on the planning board just a little bit. One of the things in serving on the planning board, I took the opportunity to go and visit with several other planning boards and watch them conduct their business both in smaller counties, similar to us, and then in some larger counties. And one of the things that I noticed in some counties that appeared to be maybe a little more progressive than other counties was that the county commissioners tended to give the planning board a little leeway to make some recommendations in regards to some planning that they would like to make. And one of the outcomes that I saw of that was the planning board making recommendations, and the board didn't always, the commission didn't always take the recommendation to do anything with it, but they sort of took it under advisement of things 20 and 30 years down the road. So I think that Macon County is fortunate with the folks that's on there that have the ability to do that. So just food for thought.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No closed session. I guess we will adjourn until our January 2017. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion? Second. And a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Mayor, through you first.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, good job.
Good job.